wait, let's welcome back to already the fifth episode of the ToonTALK Podcast brought to you by Magpie 24/7. I am joined today with Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good as well, thank you. Today we are giving our match reactions to both our Champions League game against Union Saint-Gilloise and afterwards our Premier League game, which finished today against Nottingham Forest. Starting us off in the Champions League, obviously we won the game on Wednesday. It was against Union in Belgium, a comprehensive 4-0 victory against the Belgian side. And I mean, I am really, really positive after that result. Elanga had a fantastic game. Gordon scored two penalties, Voltemade scored one, Barnes scored one. I think it's our biggest
Mhm.
Champions League victory ever, if I'm not mistaken.
It is,
But
yeah,
what
yeah,
what were your thoughts on the game?
yeah. I think it was a solid game actually. It was the best football we played all season. Even again against Barcelona, I said last time on a previous episode. I think that was the best game we had. But no, against Union, we showed that we're a team here in the Champions League. And we haven't backed away, and I quite like that. And it's put us in pretty good steadings, I think, now in the table. I think we're at the top of the midfield. So that's it's a great positive. And I think I enjoyed watching the whole game because from start to finish we were the better team. I'd argue the whole way through. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a great game, brilliant game of football.
Yeah, completely agree. As for the starting lineup, I was actually really happy to see both Voltemade get his first Champions League start and actually him contributing right away. I thought he had a pretty magnificent game himself. And
Yeah.
the young center back partnership, which has been starting over the last few games, Botman Piao, impressing yet again as well. Do you have any thoughts on the way we set up for this fixture?
Yeah, so it was I believe it's a 4-3-3 with our back to our normal midfield of Jolinton, Tonali, and Bruno, obviously, which is a massive boost for us as it is. I felt like the attacking third as well. The is it Gordon, Voltemade, and Elanga? They all played a brilliant game as well. Elanga, I think, would be my main shout for that game. I think whatever tactics he was given, yeah, I think he followed it, and you could tell that he was enjoying his football as well. Um, and he created so many chances, obviously assisting, or not nearly assisting Voltemade on the first one. But yeah, he was a threat all game, and he was a joy to watch. So yeah, special shout out for him for
Mhm.
definite. And as you say, the young pairing of the pairing of the centre back, I think Tiao and Botman both shone. They did really well. They kept Pope pretty quiet all game as well. They did all the defending they needed to. So I think Union actually had more shots than us the whole game, interestingly. But yeah, no, it was just a brilliant game to watch. The setup was perfect. Eddie Howe nailed it.
Yeah, yeah, especially that part I agree with the setup being spot on because I alluded to it before. We especially needed to avoid going behind in this game because Union is such a defensively rigid and a physical team. But the fact that we scored pretty early on actually and could were able to absorb some pressure and then hit them on the break, which is something they would ideally have had liked to do to us. I think suited us down to a T. Um, a special shout out to the lads in the midfield as well for their performance. I suggest we have a listen to both Kyle and Paul's thoughts on at the halftime point right now.
And so it's half time in Belgium as Newcastle are 2-0 up. Really comfortable par from Newcastle in all fairness. I think the only time we've had to manage defensively is the first 5 minutes after the first goal. Really impressed by Newcastle's performance. We've controlled the game in and out of possession, which is always a positive. I know Ian's mentioned that Union can really dig deep and be a hard team to play against in terms of a low block. But for me, we've been brilliant in possession, especially Alanga. I mean, he hasn't picked up an assist or anything like that, but he's had a massive hand in both goals. I mean, the cross goes in for the first one. Initially, it was Tonali who the ball goes out to him and he hits it, but it seemed to take a deflection off of the defender. But on second viewing, it looks like Voltemade puts it in for his third goal. So whoever's crying in Munich saying he's not worth the money we paid for him, they can go and fuck themselves royally. But yeah, all credit for me goes to Elanga on this one. I think like brilliant bit of play to get the ball into the box, and it's a bit more like the Elanga that was signed. The direct problem for teams. As he's been nothing but a serious problem for the Union defence. But the second one was probably the one I was most impressed by, because he takes on the defender cutting on the inside, as he had a couple of really good chances running down the byline and making it a problem for the defender. But he wins the penalty right on the edge of the penalty box, and he lures him in, traps him in, and it's a really good bit of wing play from Elanga. And then Anthony Gordon steps up, cool as you like, brilliant. And I was a bit sceptical, because I'm like, oh, I remember Everton last season where he puts it straight at Pickford, but not this time. He just totally buries it, and it's his second goal of the competition, so fair play to Anthony Gordon on that one. But I've been really impressed this half from Newcastle. I think Union now have to come out, and if we can manage them first 10 minutes of the second half, then I really think we can go on and continue to control the game and hopefully get our first win on the board. But I'm really impressed with Newcastle this first half. Really impressed with how Elanga's played, how Voltemade's played with his little flicks and touches, and I think in terms of Eddie's system and stuff and how we like to play, I think Voltemade is a great fit. I really do. You can see what we've signed in him. There's a really, really good player there. I'm so impressed and really happy with our recruitment on this one, as he puts in his third goal in 5 games. I mean, brilliant from the German. So yeah, I'm really happy with the performance of the first half. Happy with how our midfield's controlling the game, and long may it continue.
Because at that halftime point, as they have just alluded to, we were 2-0 up and already pretty comfortable. Given the fact that we were so comfortable, I was really impressed that we just saw out the game in a really professional manner. And this is something we saw last season quite a lot, and we seem to have dragged this through to this year as well, apart from the big games, i.e. Arsenal and Liverpool. What are your thoughts on us being professional in those games, seeing out victories?
Yeah, I think it was a real joy to watch us actually push and push and push, because we're so used to seeing, I think this season especially, that we go 1-0 up and it's just, well, we're going to defend now. Or I don't know what the lads think. I don't know if they think, oh, we've got the goal, we'll just defend it, or what, I don't know. But it's really nice to see us push and get more goals, especially into the second half, because I think it's the second half of the games that we end up being so defensive. So it was nice to have a change. I don't know if that's because it's the format of the Champions League or not. I don't know if that's what Eddie Howe's thinking is. We push more in the Champions League and reserve ourselves in the Premier League, but I think that would be a very odd tactic, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was really exciting football, and it was nice to watch it for 90 minutes instead of 45 for this season. It was actually, yeah, really good game to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unlike us, unfortunately, recently to start off strong and fast, or maybe for the first 10 minutes, but then it drops off. It drops off faster than you would like. But in this Union game, I think there was, as you said, a consistent pressure for us, a consistent threat, and that's something we've been lacking throughout the start of this season. A special shout out again to Anthony Elanga. He was absolutely electric on that right wing, causing the Union defenders, especially Fedelasso, who has actually had a really impressive start to the season in Belgium. So it was surprising to see him struggle so much, but that's all down to Elanga's brilliance. He was magnificent throughout the 90 minutes, forcing. I mean, did he force both penalties? I know he for sure forced one, but
Yeah, first penalty, it was a brilliant run from him, and he invited the challenge from the Union defender, and it was yeah, Stonewall penalty, but really well played from Elanga. The second one, I can't remember. I believe it was a cross, wasn't it? I don't know if I think Gordon crossed the ball actually, and it hit the arm of
you're right.
one of the defenders.
Yeah.
Which I actually think probably was a bit of a soft penalty. I mean, you look at Livramento again in the Champions League a few years ago with us, a soft penalty, but we take it if it's given to us, but we hate it if we don't get it. So it's one of those bittersweet moments, I suppose.
Completely agree. Yeah. I mean, it helps that the game was already pretty much decided at that point because then it won't be made such a big deal out of. But yeah, it is unfortunate to consistently see these decisions um not go the right way, shall we say? Because I mean, I wanted to say go against us, but in this case, it was in our favor. But it would be a bit hypocritical to not point those ones out as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
As for the second half, though, so Gordon scored a second penalty. Before I move on to the second half, the first goal from Voltemade, the one thing I would like to say about it is I genuinely believe he means to deflect it the way he does. I genuinely think
Yeah,
he
I
has the
agree.
situational awareness to do that, and that's
Mm.
what is so exciting about him. He's so switched on. Today we saw it yet again, and without going to too much detail about him today yet, because we will do so in a
Yeah,
little bit,
absolutely.
he is consistently a threat just by being in the box because he is always lurking around the corner, and he wants to score. And I think that's such an underrated part of a striker. What I mean, James Lawrence Alcott, who is an analyst on YouTube, talks about this a lot uh, when he's looking at a striker. He wants to see the look in a striker's eyes, and the look is where a striker is consistently looking to find a space or looking to find a goal scoring opportunity where there actually is none, just because he's so hungry to score. And I think, well, Voltemade has that. I think Voltemade has that hunger, has that eagerness to prove himself. And I mean, yeah, that's unbelievably exciting to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As for the second half, I mean, two Gordon penalties, great for him that he scores both. And the Barnes goal, I think that's a really underrated counter-attacking move from us yet again, which we've been showcasing quite a few times this season. I think back to the first goal Gordon scores for us in the Champions League against Barcelona. That was a great
Mm.
counter-attacking move as well.
Yep.
Those situations, we've always been a pretty direct team, but there's a difference between being direct in your attacks and being quick in transitioning defense into attack. And the fact that we're getting better in that transition is really exciting to me as well, especially when you have players like Gordon, Elanga, Voltema. I mean, Voltema isn't the fastest player, but his ball handling can help us a lot in transition. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on maybe us becoming more of a transitional side?
Yeah, I think that would actually, yeah, it'd be very beneficial to us. I think with the way we play, as you've said already, we are very counter-attacking style side as it is.
Mhm.
Implementing that obviously to a defensive way as well. I mean, you have. I'm not going too much detail with today's game. Tonali, like he can cover that space if
Yeah.
Botman's up or Tial's up. Tonali covers that space. So actually, the transitioning, sorry, is very good. I think already it's just implementing that into every game we do. Um, but I absolutely agree with you with the counter attacking side. We are one of the best teams I'd say in the league for that as well. We hit on the break, and especially as you say, yeah, Gordon and Alanga so pacey down the wings, and even Barnes and Murphy when they come on as well.
Mhm.
Again, pace Osula as well. If Voldemort's not quite working, then you've got Osula who can bring a bit of pace on. Finishing touch obviously could be worked on, but he's a player who's only going to get better. Um, but yeah, no, I think yeah, counter-attacking football suits us, and I think we
Mhm.
need to actually use that to our advantage a lot more than we do already.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. Maybe the one thing out of that Union game that I think we need to do better in the future with, but that wasn't necessarily a problem today. It's just something I think Union saw beforehand and tried to exploit is when we are defending set pieces, especially corners. We often win the first duel when the ball hits the box, but it's the second ball we fail to capitalize on. And Adam
Yeah,
Zorgan, who is the number 6 from Union, had a couple of shots from outside of the box just simply by being there and waiting for that ball to drop. So that's maybe something we need to worry on. But I mean, the fact that I'm pointing that out just means Union was a really complete performance from us, and I'm really glad to be able to say so. Nick Pope again, didn't need to do much, but was massive when he was called upon, as we are used to seeing from him this season.
Mm.
I
Mm.
mean, let's have a listen at what Kyle final thoughts were on that Union game.
And so it's finished at Anderlecht Stadium. Union SG 0, Newcastle United 4 in their biggest away win in the Champions League in their history. What a performance from Newcastle. As I said at the half-time thoughts there, I thought if we can manage the first 10 minutes, then we can really go on to control the game. And barring a chance over the top from them early on in the second half, I think that we did that really well. We managed to get a second penalty, which Anthony Gordon converted brilliantly. 2 goals for him tonight, and he's third in the competition this season. So looking like a good campaign in the Champions League thus far for Anthony Gordon. But yeah, we'll manage the game really well. And they made a couple of changes at half time. They brought their main forward off, which I know Ian went into detail about on the preview in my last podcast. And yeah, it seemed like a really comfortable display from Newcastle. And I know we were the favourites and stuff, but to go up against what is the Belgian champions, who aren't used to losing games and stuff like that, their first home match in the Champions League. I know it was in a neutral ground and stuff, but they still filled out most of the stadium and stuff, and it was quite an atmosphere. So for Newcastle to go into that and show quality and really get amongst it is really good as well. Harvey Barnes got a goal as well, a great counter-attack and play. Gordon started it. A good 1-2 between Asula and Harvey Barnes to make it 4. And yeah, really comfortable now from Newcastle. Quite happy with that. And then obviously it puts one on the board in the Champions League group. It corrects our goal difference as well and gets that up, which it may count when it comes to game 8. So obviously get that up's good as well. But really good performance from Newcastle. Quite chuffed with the performance, and it's not often you get to celebrate an away win in the Champions League. So quite happy with that. Really buzzing with that. So I hope he's have a good one. And Newcastle on tour. Geordie's on tour in the Champions League. Fucking come on.
And if you would like to add anything to that performance from us?
No, I don't think really much I can add on to what we said already. It was just a really exciting performance, and it's great to see us back in the Champions League and fighting these European teams. And I mean, Union, I think we needed to respect them as well because they are a good side, obviously in their own division. So we gave them the respect, and they gave us the respect. But ultimately, we came out on top. So yeah, really exciting football, and hopefully we see more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and has this given you more confidence for the rest of our Champions League campaign?
If we can pull out performances like that, then yeah, I think we have every right to be confident that we can progress to the round of 16. Yeah, no team we come up against will be easy, and I think we need to continue that attitude, uh, give them the respect, but then do our talking on the pitch. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think some of our other opponents, Benfica lost to Chelsea, which isn't the most surprising result in the world.
And they lost to Karabag as well, actually.
Yeah,
3-2.
that really was a surprise. The first
Massive.
match day. PSV obviously lost against Union and then drew against Bayer Leverkusen, who is another opponent of
Good for us.
ours. Marseille actually looked really good because they
Yep.
narrowly lost against Real Madrid on the first match day, but they absolutely thumped Ajax. And I mean, Ajax can't really do anything at this moment in time in Europe, and the Dutch media are up in arms about it. But Marseille just look really impressive. And Bilbao, they lost against Arsenal, but I think they played Dortmund in their second game, I believe.
I think it was actually, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and
you're right.
I think they did lose that one as well. So normally on paper we should pick up a lot of points from our draw from the matches we've been drawn against this season. So
I'd say PSG will probably be the hardest one away. I think any team going away to PSG, you're going to be struggling, and they've even beaten Barcelona this year. So the team to look out for I think would be them. But yeah, other games I
Agree.
think we've got left, we can get results for
The
sure.
the fortunate thing with PSG is the fact that they've now beaten Barcelona already. That's probably their hardest fixture. So I imagine they're going to pick up 3 points in most of their remaining fixtures.
Yeah.
So they'll probably already be quite safe when they face us. So maybe it's a bit more of a rotation side. Who knows? Is it
Exactly.
impossible for us to creep into that top 8? That's what I want to know from you.
I don't know. It depends really. If we set up like we did against Union, I think then it's a possibility. I won't say it's definite, but I'd say it's a possibility. And obviously depends on injuries as well. We've just obviously had Livramento go out for 6 to 8 weeks. Hall again today, I think, has come out saying that he's having to have a scan on his hamstring, and that's 2 fullbacks already out. So yeah, I think it depends on who we have available, who's fit. But yeah, I think with these fixtures, we've got to get results, especially your Benficas and your PSVs. I think Leverkusen, I think, will be a harder game. I think we can't underestimate them. They always pull a result out when they want to. So yeah, top eight's not impossible, but that we'll need to work hard on it for sure.
Yeah. The fullback spots do worry me a little bit as well. I did think about this over the summer, but over the summer we had a lot more pressing issues to worry about, so I can understand why the board didn't look at a fullback. But it is a worry to see both Hall and Livramento out because we don't want to be in a position yet again where we're relying on Trippier to play 3 games a week, basically. Having said that, though, our center back depth is actually looking really bloody fantastic at this moment in time because Botman and Tiao are both playing out of their skin at the moment, and behind them, you probably have one of the most experienced center back partnerships in the Premier League. So that's really, really exciting stuff. And I always say this: a good Champions League campaign or a good cup run is built on a solid defense. So, given the fact Tonali plays in front of them, as you alluded to before, Tonali always picking up the positions of a Malik Thiaw or a Fabian Schär, who often moves up into the midfield to contribute to our build-up play. The fact that he's intelligent and fit enough to pick up those positions, that's just fantastic to continuously see. But so because that's the thing with Tonali, he doesn't just do it once or twice. It's always every single time. He's so aware of everything that's going on around him on the pitch. I absolutely love the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, agree. He's one of my favourite players. I think I've seen put a Newcastle shirt on. And that's it. I mean, it's a strong stance probably for many people to hear, but
I mean,
I can't. I just yeah. He's an unbelievable player. Going forward, going back, he's just everywhere, and his intelligence on the ball and off the ball. He's just a fantastic player, and for a steal. I think we said this last time. I think we got him for a steal from Mason Mount, obviously with the betting scandal. But apart from that, yeah, unbelievable player.
Yeah, and I think in a weird way, the betting scandal actually might help us a little bit in the future because that seems weird, but he is such a brilliant player. I genuinely believe he's of the same level as your Declan Rices, your Caicedos. So maybe the fact that we've stayed loyal to him, shown him our support both during the period that he was banned and when he came back, needed a little bit of time to adapt to his new surroundings, to playing football yet again. The fact that we continuously backed him throughout that, the fact that Eddie Howe gave him that time, maybe prevents him from going back to Juventus, from going to a Real Madrid or going to a Manchester City in the future. And that's just really exciting for us because ultimately that's what we want to do. We want to keep those players around. And he's surprisingly young still. I think he's still 24 or 25 years old. So he's got a lot of years still left ahead of him. Yeah, I remember when we signed him, obviously when you're a career mode or a football manager player, you know of him, you know what he was labeled as, but in Italy, I remember a lot of people called him the next Andrea Pirlo.
Yeah.
But then, if you watched some analysts on YouTube, they were not quite sure of the transfer because they didn't quite see the fit with him, Bruno, and Joelinton, who still wasn't the established midfielder he is at this point.
Mm.
But the fact that Eddie Howe has managed to create such an unbelievable balance in between those three is massive credit to him yet again, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's getting the best out of all three of those players in an unbelievable way. And the three of them, when they are ticking, I struggle to see many midfields, maybe Arsenal's midfield, but and if you're going outside of the Premier League, Barcelona's midfield. But
Yeah.
other than that, I struggle to see many midfields better than ours, and that's a massive compliment. And that sounds biased, but I genuinely believe this.
Yeah, so there's a point where people are probably too biased, but I actually think that us Newcastle fans have a fair comment to say that we have one of the best midfielders. Yeah, best midfields. Sorry, not the league, but all the top European leagues. I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't discredit that statement at all. Tonali, obviously, we've alluded to many times, he's just an unbelievable player. Bruno, the passion. Joe
Yeah.
Linton, he's going to get stuck in. You know he will. I mean, we've got Lewis Miley on the bench, who I rate him still. I think he's going to be a great player for us in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a brilliant midfield as it is, and exciting prospects as well, even from the academy level. So, yeah, I think even for future years to come, we're going to have a brilliant midfield.
Yeah. Jacob Ramsey still yet to really have an impact on that midfield as well, but I think he will probably be really good for us as well. On Lewis Miley, I think it's good you're alluding to him now as well. He didn't feature today.
He
If
did.
I'm
He came on in the 89th minute, I believe,
Oh,
today,
yeah,
just for like the
okay.
last five, I think. But
That's
nothing.
probably why I've forgotten about it. But as for him, he's getting a lot more stick as of late because he's failing to make a big impact from the bench, which is understandable. He's got a lot of many talented players ahead of him at this moment in time in the pecking order, as we've just said. But I do think people also need to remember that a player's development isn't linear. It never is.
Mm,
Sometimes it may seem like a player stagnates, but we have no idea what kind of strides he's making on the training pitch, what kind of tactics he's discussing with Eddie Howe to maybe have a role in this team in the future, or maybe even at a later point in this season when we face a thick schedule of fixtures and Eddie Howe has picked a couple of fixtures where Lewis Miley's skill set will be more useful than, for example, a Joelinton skill set, or maybe even where Bruno can be given a game's rest like he was given against Leeds, for example. It was
yeah.
against Leeds, right? He was rest.
Believe it was Leeds. No, Bournemouth. I think it
Or
was. Sorry, Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
'cause he
one of the
played.
nil-nils. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Miley, Willock, and Tonali in that midfield
Yeah,
on that Bournemouth kit, which we
yeah.
spoke about on the previous episode.
Mhm,
Yeah. But yeah, it's like he's just trying to find that balance. I think, as we said in the episode as well, Willock in that midfield, I think weakens it, and it weakened Miley's abilities as well.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, you chuck Miley in with your Brunos or your Joe Lintons. Yeah, I think there's a player there still, and I mean we've
Yeah.
seen it many a time before, and I think we'll see it many a time again.
Mhm.
I think fans just need to be patient with him. I think there are certain points where we can say, no, look, you need to play better now. But I think he hasn't had enough game time, especially this season and last season, I'd even argue, to
Mhm.
actually prove a point. Um, so yeah, I think we need to give him time to really settle into like a role when he's a starter, because he's not really that at the minute. He's only a bench warmer as it is.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think patience and time for Lewis would be good.
Mhm.
But yeah, hopefully we'll see that soon.
Yeah, I think maybe he needs to develop the defensive side of his game a little bit more because I think
Mm.
allowing Sandro Tonali maybe to be a little more creative in some games where we are playing against a sitting defense or giving him a restful stop will allow him to see more minutes as well.
Yep,
And if we're talking about the future of our midfield, which is an entirely different discussion and could be an entirely different podcast in and of its own, which is why
absolutely.
I'll prepare you for this already. I'm about to spring a question on you which you're going to be thoroughly unprepared for, but I'm going to spring it on you anyway. In my opinion, the future of our midfield should be one more midfield signing who could provide some more creative sparks, where if we are playing against the deep block, we have a lot of midfielders who can carry the ball from one point to another, carry us up the pitch 30 yards, but we don't really have those players who swerve in between the number 8 and the number 10 role, if you know what I mean, who want to fill in the space in between the striker and the midfield. And I think there is a world in which Nick Woltemade is that player, and we see him play in between the midfield and Johan Wissa, for example, which will be really interesting to see. But in different games, it could be useful just to station Woltemade up top and have that big target man. Have Joelinton maybe on the wings to still have that physicality and that box crashing ability, but then have a player like, for example, I was crying out for him all summer, Harvey Elliott, who went to Aston Villa. I think he would have been brilliant for us.
Yeah.
Hence my question. Do you think of any midfielders you would like Newcastle to sign maybe in January?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, there are so many midfielders we could say. I mean, you've got, Barcelona midfielder, any of them you pick out. Pedri, for example. Pedri would be like an amazing signing. But we're thinking of, in all reality, I think something like that would be amazing. You'd only dream of it. A player who I think would be attainable.
I mean, we've been linked to the likes of Fratesi and Oliver Sanset from Bilbao, who I think are the right kind of profiles for that role.
I think Fratesi looked like an exciting player actually as well when we looked at him in the summer. I watched a few highlights of him. He looked really good. But yeah, in terms of a player, I don't know who could really fit in between that role. I'm gonna have to think about that one. You might have to come back to me later because that's a really good question. And it's really hard to think of someone else who could go in that midfield.
I can imagine.
What we have now, it feels surreal as it is, but it's such a good midfield that you don't really think of how can we improve that.
It is.
But that's a fantastic question.
Yeah, I think that's a really hard thing both for us to kind of accept. It's going to be hard to accept for our starting 11 and our fan base. If we want to compete on multiple fronts, we're going to need to have more than 11 starting 11 players, which is a weird sentence to say. But in some games, we're going to need to have the physicality of Joelinton, Bruno Tonali, but in other games, we're going to need to have a bit more of a creative spark in which we're going to have maybe 60% or more of the possession. And we're playing probably 60 games a season, so it isn't realistic to ask all three of those midfielders to play all 60 of those games. Joelinton is approaching 30 as well. So allowing someone to have that rotation doesn't necessarily mean Joelinton will be rooted to the bench. I think that's something Eddie Howe is going to have to improve on as well, because he is more of this player is in form, so he's going to keep playing until someone else has earned his spot, which is great as well. I love the fact that he's doing that with Thiaw, for example, right now above Fabian Schär. He did that with Barnes last season above Gordon. But he's going to have to learn to rotate in advance as well to avoid having injuries.
Do you know what? I have just thought of a player actually who I wouldn't mind going in on midfield. Clive Ayre from Bournemouth. Not because he's that great for us, but Clive Ayre from Bournemouth. I mean, he scored an absolute worldie the other day against Fulham. But just his all-round, even when he played us last season, he scored the hat-trick, obviously. But his all-round play is fantastic. And I think he offers enough up front that he could be... I mean, Nick Woltemade is doing that at the same time as being a striker at the minute. He can produce that hold-up play. But I think, an exciting player who would fit our system so well.
Yeah, completely agree. I think that would be a fantastic shout for us. It's probably a little bit... I mean, I wanted to say it's a bit on the older side in regards to our recruitment, but we did sign Johan Wissa this summer, so maybe we do have a look at those kind of players, and I would really like to see him come in as well. If we would be a bit more ambitious, maybe we could have a look at one of the Real Madrid attacking midfielders. I know if Nico Paz from Como is going there as well. You have Guler, Brahim Diaz, Nico Paz, Mastantuono. So maybe it's probably just Brahim Diaz you'd be able to get out of there, but he'd be pretty good as well. Maybe in Italy, someone could be really interesting.
Absolutely.
All right, I suggest then we move on to the Nottingham Forest game, which was today a game we won 2-0 by a goal from our captain Bruno Guimaraes and a goal from Nick Voltemade, both in the second half. But before we get to those goals, I suggest we have a listen to Kyle and Paul's thoughts on the first half.
So I'm just at, Gateshead side, just out of Gateshead, going onto the Red Off Bridge, getting ready to head into Newcastle today to see a massive game in the context of the season. We need the 3 points. We've got a difficult away game coming up next and an international break. So let's get the positive momentum, the positive energy going by getting a 3 huge vital points. A couple of goals would be nice, and let's take on what was a really impressive Champions League away performance into today's Premier League game. So fingers crossed on that one. Seen the team news, a little bit concerned about the Lewis Hall situation. He needs pulling out of the England squad, the under-21s that is, coming up, and we need to get to the problem of his lack of availability week in, week out. He's available now. He misses a game. He's back. There's a major problem. There's some sort of issue there. Eddie Howe saying he doesn't quite feel right in his body. All cryptic, all puzzling, and that needs to be sorted. The team today, I think, looks still pretty strong. Should be enough to get the business done on paper. Obviously, football's not played on paper, but we've got some good height in amongst there. We need to exploit the set pieces. I think Sells is very static on his line. We need to be able to exploit that one, ideally. So there is that. We should be paying them respect. Obviously, they've got some good attacking players sprinkled throughout, but I saw them in the obviously midweek in European action, and I wasn't, like I say, it wasn't totally blown away. The fans are on them. The fans have turned on them after 6 games for the new manager, for Ange. And I think if we get the first goal today, we start positively with momentum, get the first goal, their fans will turn on them. The players will obviously pick up on that negativity. I think they looked as well when I saw them play midweek like players who were playing with a little bit of baggage and worry. I think, and I've said this all along, even though we've been a little bit inconsistent, I've no worries long term about the team. Where we go, and I think we'll be there or thereabouts for European competition at the end of the season. For these lot, it's a definite change in style and philosophy under the new manager. Will they give him long enough? Looking at their owner, probably not. Um, the players know that. He probably knows that as well, the manager. And like I say, we need to take full advantage. We need to be making hay while the sun is shining and add to their misery, add to their woes, add to their bad start. We get a win today, top half of the table. We're still in the cups. We're doing well in the Champions League, and that we're in the phase, we're in the block that we need to be. We've got some good games coming up, so everything looking positive. I pray Newcastle United. Let's go to the form book, to the guidebook. Let's get the points on the board. And again, it's points that are more important than performance. But wouldn't it be nice if we got both today? A good performance and a good result and a few goals. I'm being a bit greedy now, aren't I? But I'll let you get back to Ian, and then I'll come back for later on in the game. And hopefully, I'm talking about goals galore for Newcastle United, and I'm talking about 3 points.
Brilliant contribution from Paul. I suggest we follow that straight up with Kyle's thoughts on the first half, given how much of a drab affair the first half had been.
And what's happening, everyone? It's Kyle from Magpie 24/7. I hope you're all good. It's 0-0 here at half time at St James's Park, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. And as first half scores, probably one of the most boring and shite first halves of the season, to be honest. It was just pure shite on the ball. We just didn't have anything for them. Dan Burn starting at left back again, becoming another problem. Nottingham Forest have put Morgan Gibbs-White out wide because they know it'll cause a problem for Dan Burn. On the ball, we'll look off it. Joe Linton's give away the ball a few times. Trippier's give away the ball a few times, and Alanga, every time he's on the ball, he just seems petrified of Williams. And it just seems like a total mismatch. And for a team that's out of form, surely you should be doing better, Paul.
Not half. I mean, it's after the Lord Mayor, sure, definitely, but
not even the basics are being done right in that first 45 minutes. They're not stringing passes together. We haven't, a keeper that's under pressure and is getting a lot of flack. We've not worked him. The Forest fans were on their back after the game midweek, so you'd think get the first goal, get their fans, upset, and make hay while the sun is shining. But they've done none of that, and rightly so. We don't deserve to be in the lead at half time. We've got what we deserve, which is now really.
Yeah, so far it's just been shite. It really has. I went into this game really confident, thinking we could get an early goal and put them under a lot of pressure, but it's just been anything but so far. So hopefully we can get into it in the second half, and maybe a couple of changes are needed. Especially with Joe Linton, Elanga potentially going off as well. It's just been beyond shite really, and I think we just need that little bit more. We need a spark. First 5-10 minutes of the second half is huge in my opinion. Got to get an early goal in front of the Gallagher end. Get the crowd into the game and really put the cookies for the sword. Because if these concede one, there's still that thought of they'll capitulate. Whereas at the minute they've still got something to hang on to, so get that early goal and get about these, because at the end of the day, as bad as we've been, they've had one half chance where Trippier makes a clearance and haven't really offered much more. So as bad as we've been, they haven't been this great going forward either. So big half ahead, need the win.
2 boo teams and 1 dreadful referee.
Yeah, the referee. I mean, it seems to be a common theme when we speak about games these days, but the referee's had no control over it. The amount of fouls he's given for Forest, and then not the other way. It's just insane. So hopefully second half and get about it, get an early goal and get 3 points, because looking at the table and stuff, I don't usually like looking at it this early in the season, but you don't want teams that you're meant to be competing with pulling clear and then you're having to catch up. So big half ahead.
The first half was a bit of a drag, wasn't it, Joe?
Yeah, I don't think I've shouted quite as loud this season for the game. It was completely different contrast to midweek. As I said earlier, I think with the Champions League games, we were there, we've been attacking, we've been really good. Just the first half today, it was slow. The decision making, I say, was poor from our side. I think I said in our group earlier, I think I said the referee as well. It just felt like he was giving decisions to Forest and they were going down with any challenge we gave. Just so slow, and the chances as well we could have taken, we didn't. It felt like the normal Premier League games that we've been seeing this season. Really, really, really annoying. And frustrating. I think are the only 2 words I can really give you for that. It was just completely different to what we saw midweek, and I think a lot of fans felt that as well, thinking, well, where has that passionate side gone that we saw midweek? I think sloppy in some places. And we need to improve our first half performances, especially if they're going to continue like that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you remarked the difference between our midweek performance and the first half of this game, because that is kind of worrying. As a player, you need to be able to motivate yourself for any kind of game, and there can't be such a stark difference between your league games and your Champions League games. And I mean, you can imagine a player being tired after having to perform in midweek and at the weekend as well, but we're still at the start of the season and there has been an international break. And you're right, at the start of an international break as well, where, I mean, Voltemade and Gordon have been called up, Tonali, Bruno, Joelinton have been called up, and Burn has been called up.
Burn and Gordon as well,
and Elanga has been called up as well.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I wanted to make the point that maybe it's not that many players, but actually it's starting to get quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the course if you're wanting to compete at the very best level, at the very highest level, I imagine. But again, there was still some energy left in the tank because they did drive it on in the second half, so that does show you there was more to give than they gave in the first one. So a valid critics. I mean, it looked sluggish. I think we got dragged into making it a scrappy affair rather than making it about who's the better football team, because that's us. pretty much.
Yeah.
Forest, who haven't actually won a game still under Ange Postecoglou, which is, I mean, I don't know about you, but I quite like Ange just as a a person. And
As a person, he's quite humorous and quite
yeah.
likable actually. Yeah, but when it comes to the football side, you think
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, if he was our manager, I think I probably would be a bit
Yeah.
sick of him as well.
I mean,
um,
mm, I
it's better. I
get
mean, look,
he's got the Amorim problem, doesn't he? He's a
yeah,
bit too stubborn to his way, and his way is probably 180 degrees difference of what Nuno wanted to do with this Forest side. So that's going
yeah,
to take a lot of adaptation time for them as well. So that's not helping him at all. But he isn't a useless manager, because at the end of the day, he did win the Europa League with Tottenham. However impressive that may be, he did do that. And he was actually a great manager at Celtic as well. I really do think there is a manager in there, just maybe not at the level of Spurs, but given some time at Forest, I could see him make this a steady, fun side.
yeah. I think given time he can. But then we say that obviously at Spurs, obviously he did win the Europa League, but in the Premier League, what was it? They were
17th.
they 17th, yeah,
Yeah.
in the league. As
I
much
have
as
no
the Europa
defense for
League was.
that.
Exactly, yeah. So he had I don't know, was it 2 years he was there, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, two
But
years.
yeah, but I think he was unlucky to be sacked after winning a trophy for them. But obviously the league form was not very good. But then again, that's not always on the manager. It is also on the players to
Hmm.
get the game finished and get the 3 points. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
and
it's a
obviously some
50-50 blame.
circumstances when it came to Spurs, some injuries, but still 17th is just not nearly good enough. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're probably right. But we did pull it right in the second half, and that's actually something I am quite impressed with. The fact that we were quite down on our luck. We got dragged into making it a scrappy affair. I mean, especially Ryan Yates got under Bruno's skin. Joe Linton kind of had a bit of a head loss in the first half, where he was flying into tackles left, right, and center. Elanga looked really off, in my opinion, in the first half. It looked
Yes.
like the occasion of playing against his former side really got to him in that first 45 minutes. And we struggled to reach Voltemade when they were playing in a back three, as Kyle alluded to as well. So I think that's something for Eddie to look at. But the fact that we got over that, the fact that those players picked themselves up, listened to the tweaks Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall made to the team in order to combat the problems we faced in the first half, those are real positives. Because, I mean, what were your thoughts on the second half?
Yeah, second half, a completely different team again. I think the start of the second half again. It was a bit of a slowish start, bit of a, as you say, sluggish. Um, Play football. But yeah, what was it? Bruno, obviously he won the ball back with the challenge on Gibbs White. Don't know what he was doing going down like a sack of potatoes, but that's for Forest's problem. But yeah, and then Burn obviously slipping it into him, and then a lovely finish from Bruno. But I think maybe Sells probably could have done a bit better unless he was blindsided, I believe.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, a lovely finish, and it was I think that kind of kick-started us to keep going as well.
Yeah, it was exactly what we needed at that moment in
Yeah,
time. Mhm.
absolutely. And then obviously for the penalty, Bruno winning that for us as well. I think Bruno really was the catalyst in our second half today. I think he did win player of the match actually as well, and deservedly so. He was our
Yeah,
best player on the pitch today.
agreed.
Um, he was just everywhere for us. And yeah, obviously Baltimore's penalty. I must admit, Baltimore's penalty. I thought it was open when he first kicked it, but it was an absolutely brilliant finish. It was a lovely
he
penalty.
he is not the kind of player to just tuck it in bottom corner, is he?
No, he's not. No, not at all. He smashed it into that top corner. But
He's turning into a fan favorite so fast. I mean, I was a massive fan of him when we signed him, and I remember we signed the news leaked that we were going to sign him at I think half an hour after our Champions League draw. So I was absolutely buzzing, and my head was all over the place. So I was struggling to differentiate whether my happiness was biased, purely biased, or if he was actually as good as I was making myself believe he is. But I mean,
He's
hey,
proven it. He is proven it in his performances. Yeah, what is it? It's four goals now, and is it? I think 5 games he's
yeah,
played.
exactly.
Um, yeah,
He's
3 in the league, 1 in the Champions League. Yeah,
He is the first Newcastle United player to score 3 goals in his first 3 games for us, or in his first 3 starts for us.
I believe
Or
Alan
the
Shearer and Les Ferdinand
Yeah,
are
exactly.
also.
Since those two, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
yeah.
That's for some pretty great company for him to be in, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I think he's yeah, as you said, becoming a fan favorite. I think if he continues on the form he is, he's filling the boots that Isak left as well, which
Mhm.
I think is exciting for us. And
It is.
that's without Wissa even starting at the minute as well. I mean, if Wissa hits the ground running like Voltemard has, then
Mhm.
we've got a really exciting team. I think for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wissa does go to AFCON. Um, I think that's December or January. I can't quite remember when that will be. But well, yeah, I think it's a really exciting partnership that we could have with those two, especially if we think
Mhm.
bring Voltemard back a bit for that hold up play and have Wissa up forward a bit more. But then again, you have to sacrifice maybe one of the midfield, but that would be something Eddie Howe and the team will look into. Um, but yeah, I'm becoming a big fan of Nick. I must admit, I was a bit cautious when we signed him because it's a
Mhm.
big price tag, and obviously Isak's boots to fill. But I think he's rising to the occasion really, really well, and he's fit into the league and to the Champions League, obviously, really well with our team.
Mhm.
Um, and as you said earlier as well, with Elanga today, it was almost homesickness from him.
Yeah.
It really, really sluggish and really, really sloppy, and like he didn't want to hurt Forest.
Mhm. I think he was a
But
bit surprised at how volatile the game became because I had the
yeah,
same feeling with Elliot Anderson. He looked a bit shocked when Joe Linton pushed him off the ball at some point, but I was like,
mm,
this is what you can expect when Joe Linton is coming in for a duel with you.
yeah.
Especially this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well,
So,
he's played with them before, isn't he? So he would
mhm.
know. Another player I want to point out today, I don't often say that they played a bad game, but Dan Burn had me nervous today.
Yeah.
He was obviously playing at that left back role again, and as soon as the
Mhm.
team sheet came up, me and my brother said, "Oh, here we go again," kind of thing. We said he could get exposed, but yeah,
Yeah.
not that he was being beaten um, all the time, but it's just he wasn't reading the situations as well as he usually does.
Mhm.
And it did make me nervous actually a couple of points in the game. And yeah, it was really unlike Dan Burn to play. I think not badly, but it, just very sluggish. As we've said, that's the only word I think we can really
Yeah.
say. It was sluggish.
Yeah, I think he
Um,
really benefits from having a player on both sides from him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
I think there was another thing in the second half as well, where it was Burn in the box for corners, and it what's his name? Is it the number 4 for Forest, like grappling him and holding
Yeah,
him? And I think
Morato.
VAR
Yeah.
said it was minimal contact, but they're pulling the shirt and pushing it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. But
Yeah.
as you said, it was a physical game today. It was a physical game, and I think we were
Yeah.
both as bad as each other with that.
But
But then,
I'm really getting fed up with those situations because I think the Premier League has been setting a precedent this season where those things just aren't called for a foul anymore in the box when it's with a set piece. But you're starting to see, especially with teams like Arsenal, set pieces are more becoming wrestling matches than football games at this moment
yeah,
in time. And I mean, at some point, I think we need to revisit the rules because probably according to the rules and the precedents have been set this season, that Burns situation isn't a penalty, but especially with the second one, which is about 2.5 minutes later, where both Bruno and Burn get dragged to the ground by Morato again in literally the exact same scenario. And I think Banks was the referee. He came and told all 3 players off, which was genuinely stupid in my opinion.
yeah, especially with VAR as well, when they've got the ability to
Exactly.
look at that.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yeah, I just don't understand it.
And they shouldn't
Um,
come with this re-refereeing bullshit anymore as well. Because if you want to avoid re-refereeing, both and this is as unbiased a statement as can be, because both the penalties from the Arsenal game, the Gabriel Hens and Nick Pope's foul on Gyökeres, if you want to stop re-refereeing, both of them should be penalties, because both of them, according to the letter of the law, aren't penalties. But if you're a referee and a situation like that happens at the speed it happens at during a game, it's a completely natural call to give a penalty for that, because Gabriel's hand is in a completely unnatural position and he gains an advantage from it, which is mad that we don't get anything from that. And the Nick Pope foul or no foul on Gyökeres, I think you need to slow down the images so much to see if the ball moves or changes trajectory even the slightest little bit to realize Pope is there first, that you do have to say that's re-refereeing. So their re-refereeing is okay, but then in a game like this, it all of a sudden isn't okay, because what? No Big Six cartel team is playing in this game anymore. I think we need to move on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I think the problem with it is just for all Premier League teams is the inconsistency.
Mhm.
I think week in, week out, we're told, oh yeah, no, we'll make these decisions, we'll get this sorted, we'll decide in the minutes if that. And you haven't the same thing. Like, I mean, as you say, the Pope challenge on Gyökeres, the week before it was Robert Sanchez with Chelsea. Similar situation. I mean, I think that was a red card for Sanchez.
Yeah.
I must admit, because he got the ball, but then he took him out completely.
Yeah.
But then Pope, you could argue, did the same thing, even though he got a touch on the ball. So it is just what's right, what's wrong. We need to, as you say, relook at the rules and I think really touch on what's allowed nowadays, because I think it's just so up in the air.
Yeah, and if we are or having a look at the rules again, I don't know if you think a lot about this, but I would think maybe getting rid of penalties is a bit too extreme, but making penalties way more uncommon could be a good thing for football, because you more often than not see situations where maybe a 0.05% XG chance gets deviated onto somebody's hand and then all of a sudden turns into a 0.8 XG chance simply because it's a penalty. And that's just, I mean, the crime punishment there is it's just a little bit off. So
yeah,
I think that's something to look into as well. But that's a whole other discussion. As for our performance, let's have a listen at what Kyle and Paul's thoughts were at full time.
So it's full time at St James's Park. Just got out of the ground. It ended Newcastle 2, Nottingham Forest 0. And the things me and Paul were saying at half time kind of came to fruition in a way. We're up the tempo a lot, and Matt Sells probably ended up being man of the match. It could have easily been 5 or 6 second half. Some of the saves he made were phenomenal, especially one from Tonali, a long ball from Trippier, and he takes it on the volley and nearly gets it over Matt Sells. But yeah, really, really impressive second half from Newcastle. Took it to Nottingham Forest, and kind of how I expected the first half to go initially, but yeah, I was really impressed with how hard we worked, how hard we pushed them. And as soon as we got that first goal, it just seemed like Forest ran out of ideas. They just didn't have anything forward. They went from a back 5 to a back 4, and you could tell straight away, because I think for the 60-odd minutes that they had free up against Walter Mara, it was hard for him to get into the game. But as soon as they went to 2, he kind of got to work and was an absolute handful for them in the last 25 minutes. And his penalty is a result of him pressing the defender, but the first goal comes from El Capitao, Bruno, in a brilliant piece of skill. It was probably the one time in the game where Peter Banks doesn't give a foul on Morgan Gibbs White, because he did it all fucking game. Terrible referee. But we managed to win the ball really high up the field, and Bruno, very similar to the goal against Chelsea at the back end of last season, where he curls it and celebrates right in front of me and Paul. Fucking brilliant, I love it. Put 1-0 up, we needed that. And once we won 1-0 up, we never looked back really. we controlled the game from. Forest didn't really have a look in after that. So yeah, I think that a really good performance from Newcastle. Needed 3 points and we got 3 points, which is all important. I just want to highlight though Malik Chow and Sven Botman. What a partnership they've got there, mind. I mean, Forest didn't really have a sniff, and when they did, it was dealt with comfortably from both. Not Wallermader, sorry. Both Chow and Botman both dealt with it really well in that situation, and yeah, what a brilliant set of defenders. You've got Botman back to his best, back fit. You had a little bit of a worry in the second half of a weird landing, but got up and seemed to be alright from there. And then obviously Malik Chow as well, new signing, 32 million. At this current moment in time, it's looking like a snip for his services. I mean, unbelievable performance again from him, and for the first time, genuinely, I'm looking at Fabian Schär thinking, you're not getting back into this team. And it's the first time I've thought that about Schär since he signed, which kind of just shows the longevity and the quality of a player that we've got in Fabian Schär. But if Malik Chow keeps playing like that, I see Schär's time in games being very limited, because what a player he looks. He looks good in possession, he looks good out possession, his recovery pace is unbelievable. I mean, Chris Wood is a physical centre forward, and he gets in behind and he tries to make things happen. And since he left Newcastle, Chris Wood, he's been really prominent in front of goal, and he's been a difficult task for a lot of defenders. Not for Chow the day. Chow absolutely annihilated him, and he never got a look in all game. I mean, me and Paul were speaking because I thought they were bringing Callum Hudson-Odoi on, and they were taking him off. I was like, oh, he didn't play then. He didn't have a game. And that was just because of how good our defence was for the duration of the game. But yeah, absolutely fantastic from Chow, and a good team performance in the second half, and a much needed 3 points as we go into the international break with Brighton and Benfica straight after. So been a good win. Moving on to the next one, but we needed that. Fucking great result, and some good goals as well. Walter Marty from the spot, really good penalty as well. But yeah, that's what, 4 and 5 or 6 games now for Walter Marty. Alex, who?
Well, during the first half, I was reminding myself of my words where I said the result is more important, the 3 points is more important than the actual performance. But goodness me, that was a difficult watch first half, wasn't it? Disjointed, giving the ball away, not getting crosses in, not working their keeper. A frustrating 45 minutes in front of a pretty cold and quiet St James's Park. At time, to be honest, it just literally seemed to be going wrong. I was getting flashbacks of West Ham last season, worrying that it was going to be one of those days, one of those games, one of those performances, and one of them results. Yet an important halftime came. Words were clearly spoken at halftime, a few tactical tweaks. Dan Burn protected in the second half a lot more. Passes finding targets, crosses coming in, chances being worked on. And in the end, we could have won that game 3 or 4 quite comfortably. We rattled the woodwork. We had opportunities. Last-ditch defending by Nottingham Forest stopped us from getting a bigger winning margin. But like I said before the game, the win was the most important going into the international break. It relieves any pressure. It lets us even looking up in the table rather than worrying and being frustrated and everything. And, to break the deadlock, I thought it was going to take a little bit of a moment of magic, a little bit of something special. And boy, hell, did we get that. An absolute beauty of a goal by Bruno. And Eddie, didn't he? He said, we need goals from elsewhere. We can't just be relying on, a striker. We need goals from midfield. We need goals from out wide. And he got some of that today. Bruno, like I say, of a beautiful, beautiful goal. We've had Joe Linton recently scoring braces as well from midfield. We were lucky with other opportunities we had in that second half, but topped off by a fine penalty from big Nick Faltamade. Oh my word, 3 home games, 3 goals, and he's you know, if this is him when he's had no training, when he's had little work with the rest of the lads, imagine him once he's fully integrated, he's fully settled into the system until he's feeling fully comfortable. It'll be an absolute and utter revolution. He was brilliant today. Not just the penalty kick, which was ramped up because obviously because of the delaying tactics from Nottingham Forest, but it was cool, and it was an absolutely brilliant, spot kick. No saving that, no getting to that. 2-0. And like I said, the only slight fly in the ointment was just not getting a few extra goals. But look, result is totally more important than anything else. Man of the match, there's only one person that really we could give it to. Yes, I know Tonali was really, really good. I was impressed by him. There was some good performances in the second half. Bruno maybe deserves it for that goal. But you're talking about both halves, top performances, and that has to come down to Malik Chow. He's been a revelation. Look, there was no wonder that Fabian Schär was desperate not to lose his place, even when he was concussed. He wanted to stay, he wanted to play, because he knew as soon as this lad got in that his starts would be limited. Let's face facts. He was fantastic, absolutely and utterly fantastic. Both halves. And again, look, it's another clean sheet. We're making a habit of that, and that's a great habit to have. We know the attacking system is going to be improved. You look today, the players that we're missing, even Ramsey, Visser, are going to make huge differences going forward. Even Lewis Hall, with his runs from defence, a real asset. Tino Livramento as well on the other side, missing today. So we've got players who can come back and improve on what we've got. But, European wins, Premier League wins, top half of the table, still in the cup. Things are looking pretty decent for Newcastle United at the end of the day. And I'm over the moon with that. That was just, like I say, it was the shot in the arm that we needed. That second half, those absolutely unbelievable, fantastic goals, and a precious, crucial 3 points. It finishes at St James's Park, Newcastle United 2, Nottingham Forest 0-0, zilch, nout. And the only numbers that are coming after Nottingham Forest after that match is 45, as in P45, because that is what Big Ange is going to get. Hey, they might even employ Steve Bruce. Unlucky Brucey. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks a lot, Ian, and I'll speak to you later.
And Kyle rightly points at Malik Thiaw again, because again, he was absolutely magnificent in this game throughout the entire 90 minutes. Yeah, the more I see of him, the more impressed I am with him, and the more excited I am for our future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I touched on it in the last podcast I did with you. I said he's going to be the player this season who's going to really blossom and really come out and be the most informed. And I think I stick by that. And I could see it from when he was in the first starting lineup, or even when he came on. I think it was against Barcelona. You can see the composure on him. It's just it's incredible. And decision making for him, he was really good. I mean, today I don't think he really set a foot wrong. I know we were slow, obviously in the first half, but he consistently through the game, he was also there, like Bruno was.
Yeah.
And I think he's a really exciting player to have. And for the price we got him from Milan, I think that's again a really, really good thing.
Yeah, he would have had his first goal for the club if it weren't for a pretty brilliant save from Matt Sells as well. Which
if it wasn't for Matt Sales, I think it would have been at least 4 or 5-0 today for us easily.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something which was pointed out to us beforehand in the group's chat, which was we need to score from set pieces today, because Matt Sells is still a goalkeeper who stays on his line at set pieces, but he had an absolutely brilliant game. Staying on his line actually helped him a lot, because he had Milenkovic in front of him defending those set pieces. And that meant he could, I think he kept out Joe Wellington when it was still 0-0 or yeah, I think there I think 0-0. Not a single goal had been scored yet, so that was a massive save for them. Afterwards, he made some pretty big saves as well. Voltemade could have scored 1 or 2, but on Thiaw and actually on Voltemade as well, because this kind of alludes to him as well. What I like about those two players performing so well for us right now is how much sourness there was. I can't describe it any other way when we signed them. For Voltemade, the sourness mostly came from Karl Heinz, shall we say,
Yeah,
at Bayern
yeah.
Munich. Um, and I think he's having to eat those words right now as well. And when we announced the signing of Thiaw, a lot of AC Milan fans actually said that they were really happy to get 30 million for him, which surprised me a lot because he was quite highly rated when he was signed from Schalke in the Bundesliga. But he's proving to be worth every single penny for us. And for a Premier League centre back, 30 million pounds isn't actually that much. It's
Not
just
nowadays.
quite a lot for a Serie A backup centre back. But he's developing into a really important player for us. And at the end of the day, you pay what a player is worth to you, not what a player is worth to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, a massive performance from Thiaw. Is there any other player who you thought stood out, especially then in that second half?
I think when Murphy came on, he looked pretty good. I mean, there was a brilliant pass he made to Harvey Barnes, obviously, who came on as well. But if it wasn't for Matt Sells, a great save again, it would have been another goal. But I think Murphy and Barnes came on for Gordon and Alanga and injected a bit of confidence in the team, actually, which is good to see from not your secondary wingers or your backup wingers, but from other attacking players. I think it gave a whole nother dynamic to the game for us, and that was nice to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I can really pinpoint anyone else other than Bruno, Voltemade, and Thiaw. I think for my top three players today, I would say, and Bruno especially. Bruno was incredible today.
Yeah, to comment on those points, I think it's really nice for us to have those different profiles on the wing, because in Gordon and Alanga you have maybe players who are a bit more rough around the edges, but are so unbelievably explosive and have such high ceilings that they can turn around the game on their own. But if you then need to see out a victory and have players who will be able to contribute in attack, but are more focused on not losing the ball in dangerous areas, having us be able to take over in attack, that's more so your Harvey Barnes, your Jacob Murphy. These players take less risks, but are still really, really dangerous when they need to be, and actually are quite okay with having to sit 60 minutes on the bench, which is really valuable for us to have as well. The only player I haven't talked about from your top three, which I completely agree with, by the way, I am going to ask you to rank those three on the basis of man of the match performance today afterwards. But on Bruno, I think it's worth saying he often gets called a passion merchant, and I get it. He is a little bit, and when he scores, he does about 7 celebrations, but I absolutely love all 7 of them, so I don't mind it as much. But I can see why other people would say that. But calling him a passion merchant is actually a bit of a disservice because he is so unbelievably good, man. His driving force, his engine, is unbelievable. As you said before, the fact that the goal comes from his challenge beforehand, Byrne picks that up and gives it straight back to him. And yes, Matt Sells should probably do better, but it's still an unbelievably hard finish because he curls it around him. It's 4 force players who come and pressure him right before he strikes it. It's a really important moment as well to strike it. What I find most most striking about that situation, shall we say, is 9 times out of 10 when a midfielder picks up a ball in that area, strides forward, and then has a go, it's a shot that ends up in row Z nearly every time. With Bruno, he actually doesn't take on those shots quite a lot, or not as much as you would think, because he does like that dink over the top of the defense just as much. But when he does, I mean, I think back to the goal against Chelsea last season, for example, he does know how to strike him. So this is a player, again, who has everything to his skill set. We know from last season, not only the player who covered the most distance in the Premier League, but also the most fouled player. He is Newcastle's through and through. He gets the city through and through. He gets the club through and through. He's unbelievable. We are looking at a modern day club legend.
Yeah,
That's really it. And with him, I think again, this is a player where we are lucky. He's maybe past the age where he's worth selling for us, because a club isn't going to pay 100 million plus for a player of his age, but he's absolutely worth 100 million plus to us. Absolutely.
yeah.
So
You get players nowadays, don't you, that go for more than that. I mean, look at Wirtz, actually, for example, for Liverpool.
mm,
He has really not hit the ground running there, has he? He's struggled, and again, Isak as well. You pay all this money for all these players, and
absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
not giving you a turnover. Which
Mm,
actually, for us Newcastle fans, especially with Isak, the stuff like that, you think good.
yeah.
Like, the way that all got handled, obviously, was horrible. But we've then used the money well. We've recruited well,
Hmm.
and we've got these players who want to play for the club and aren't just there for wages and money, who aren't just there to get a game week in, week out. They're there to obviously to play football, but they also understand that us fans want a team that tries. As we've said, we want a team that tries, and if we don't win, we're still there. It's exciting. It's an exciting time for us, and especially when we're using the money in good ways to get players who are passionate about the club. As we say, Bruno, I think for
Yeah.
40 million, I think we
Yeah.
paid for him from Lyon, didn't we? And that's an
Yeah.
absolute steal when you look back at that.
Compare that 40 million to, for example, the 120 million pounds that Chelsea paid for Enzo Fernandez from Benfica.
Yeah,
That's a night and day difference. And it has been said that that is going to be our transfer policy going forward as well. No big names, ready-made superstars, players who can develop into systems such as Eddie Howe has done over the last few years. And I mean, if you have a look at our top 10 most expensive signings, nearly all of them are from this era, but
mm,
nearly all of them are a success. And that is actually a really, really, really impressive hit rate, because normally with transfers, clubs kind of agree on a 50% hit rate is a sign of a good sporting director, but we have a way better hit rate than that. And all the credit has to go to both Eddie and his brother, because having had a summer of not necessarily nightmares, but turmoil for sure, all
mm,
of his signings are turning out to be great. So
yeah,
having had all the people talk about the players we've missed out on, I think all of those people have missed out on talking about the players we did get over the line. And they are
yeah.
realizing now that we have actually brought in a lot of quality this summer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think obviously with all the, as we said, the turmoil with Isak
Mhm.
overshadowed what was a fantastic window for us, really. I think I
Absolutely.
even said, but on the final day, we got Whistler over the line. I said to my brother, I said that we've actually had a good window. We've actually turned a really bad window into something quite positive, and that says a
Absolutely.
lot about the club. And obviously, with no sporting director,
Yeah.
or not a consistent sporting director, should I say? Um, it's yeah, a real positive for us. And as you say, the top 10 signings or the most expensive signings we've had are from since the takeover, but they've
Mhm.
had proven to be good signings. And
Yeah.
not many clubs can say that. But maybe Brighton would be the other club I'd say, because their scouting system is off
Yeah.
the charts. They're
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic.
But even
Um,
with Brighton, I think their record signing is Rutter, who still hasn't really hit the ground running. Still
yeah,
after I think he's played there for a season right now. But the only signing in our top 10, of the top of my head, which didn't come after the takeover, has been Joe Linton. And this is still a
yeah,
player who has only started to find his feet since the takeover. So
mm,
Eddie Howe just deserves so much credit for the job he's done at Newcastle United.
absolutely.
I can't say that enough.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I yes, the question I asked you, your top three for man of the match performances after the Forest game. So we know which players are in there, but in what order?
So yeah, Bruno's my man of the match. I think he deserved that player of the match award as well today.
Mhm.
He really showed up, showed his qualities, and he showed that he was a true leader as well. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, that he's been chosen as, I think, the club captain, hasn't he? For a year now, and you can
Yeah.
see why. Yeah, you can see why. Um, who else did I say? I said Tiao, and I said
Big,
Voldemort.
big Nick.
Big Nick. Yeah. Do you know what I think? Yeah, Nick, I'll put second. Big Nick, I'll put second. He showed that his hold-up play again today was there. He wasn't afraid to go and chase the ball down when they were playing around the back, Forest. And as I said, the penalty as well. Yeah, a fantastic penalty. He probably should have had a couple more goals as well. There was that chance, I think, from a corner, and it bounced around the area and he hit the bar. But
Yeah,
there was questions, I think, if he handled it or if it hit his arm.
yeah,
I don't know.
I remember.
But yeah, he showed his qualities again today,
Mm,
Nick, and he's a really exciting prospect for us. And I
yeah,
think but Bayern can eat their own words. They didn't get him, and they're
exactly.
salty, they're upset, which is understandable. But they can enjoy Nicholas Jackson anyway.
Yeah, that's
uh,
something I find incredible as well. They are moaning about the price we paid for Voldemade, but they absolutely blew the loan fee record out of the water by paying 18 million pounds in loan fee to get Nicholas Jackson in a position where they already have Harry Kane. Explain that one to me. Or
exactly,
but
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. So and
we
Harry
are
Kane,
the
the form
idiots.
he's in the minute.
Yeah,
Yeah, the form that Harry Kane's in the minute. What a striker as well. And
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
also
Yeah.
so glad he's in the Bundesliga because Alan Shearer's record would be out the window now. I'd say.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah, that one as well. I mean, not a lot of people understood why he did that at the time, and I think, I mean, it probably isn't as black and white as him just wanting some trophies on his CV, but he doesn't get the plaudits for performing and scoring the bucket loads of goals he does. But as you said, I'm glad he isn't doing that in the Premier League anymore. And on Voltemade, the last thing I want to add on him is that I think he's a great character as well. What one thing that I loved is hearing what non-English press have to say about these players, because English press are often a bit more biased than
yeah.
other press are, and especially when it comes to a signing like Voltemade, in Belgian media, the talk was just the same, just about what are they doing, spending this amount of money on such an unproven player. But Philip Joos, who is my favorite and one of the most well-respected analysts in Belgium, actually was speaking about how Voltemade is not only a player he's starting to really like, but is a fantastic character. He came into a press conference room, immediately greeted everyone who was there, which is something nearly no player does anymore. Came
Mm.
to shake everybody's hand. He said the one thing you could immediately tell, he's been brought up by the right people. He has the right values, gotten them from home, and he was, for example, talking about the fact that he doesn't have a girlfriend or a wife, so he's still single, but he bought a couple of apartments in Newcastle for his friends. So he's heard about the nightlife in Newcastle, and he will explore that with his friends over there. So he looks like a fantastic character, which is something. I mean, it might sound stupid, but I think especially your striker needs to be a big character in the dressing room, and Voltemade looks like he's absolutely that. So again, more excitement right on top of the big excitement and the growing excitement that's already on him. Maybe one last question for you. Do you think maybe we're putting a bit too much excitement onto his shoulders?
Uh, yeah, actually, I think that's a good question to ask. I'd say he's been expected to fill the shoes or he's taken now.
Mm.
But I think I mean from the first few games that he's played from the season, he's been an unbelievable player. He's shown his qualities that he had at Stuttgart as well. Very similar to how he played there. But I think I mean if it is too much pressure, he's not feeling it, which I think it can give us a lot of confidence because usually when a player is said to be, oh yeah, they are they're scoring every game, they need to keep doing it every game. I think he probably could. I think he'd be quite happy just to put a shift in every game, and he wouldn't ever complain about what he's told to do.
Mhm.
He's I think the pressure doesn't accept it. Or is it? Was it? Alan Shearer said, "Pressure. What pressure? Pressure to the tyres."
Yeah.
He said from a penalty shootout, and I think Nick Baltimore really epitomises that point.
Yeah.
And he's shown that he's classy. He's shown that he's calm, composed, and he's not afraid to take a challenge on as well. So yeah, in a way, I think we do put a bit too much pressure on him, but at the same time, he eats that pressure and he then produces the
Yeah.
performances he does, and that proves what a player he is and he will be for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with putting pressure on a player. He does seem to be handling the pressure quite well as well. The one thing we do need to remember, in my opinion, is that we can't label him as Isaac 2.0 or expect him to do the same kind of things. We need to want him to be his own kind of player, and that will bring a new dimension to our attack as well, because it will be something completely different. And given, if you have a look at what happened to Aston Villa, for example, this season, or is still happening to them, their attack mostly consists out of the same personnel. And at a certain point, teams just figure out what you're going to do with those people. And having the opportunity to refresh that just means more output from those attackers. And that is something that we will be able to look out for from Voltemade as well. Is there anything else you would like to add on the Nottingham Forest performance or the players in general?
Just saying, I think we've touched base pretty much with everything. It's just a hope that in future games, obviously we've got the international break now. A win before the international break is huge. Given it puts us up in 11th, I believe. Now we're 11th in the Premier League and the Champions League, actually, in
Ooh.
the table. So
That's
yeah,
a nice bit of
little
symmetry, yeah.
yeah, but I think just for the players, they need to take these 2 weeks. The ones who are away on international duty obviously play their games, but when we come back, I think we really need to hit the ground running in games like we did against Union, and make it a consistency to do that as well, because it's getting quite tiresome having the same conversations each week saying we're slow, we're sluggish, and then in the second half we're better. I think from the first minute we need to be on the ball. We need to be getting the chances, creating the chances, putting the chances away more importantly. But doing that first half and second half rather than just the second half as such. But yeah, hopefully 2 weeks away for the club would be good. The players hope they don't get injured as well on the international duty. But yeah, hopefully more results like this today. Gritty performance, and hopefully all 90 minutes we press.
Yeah, well spoken. Thank you very much. If you did go on to enjoy listening to this podcast, I would implore you to please give this a 5-star rating if you did listen to this on Spotify, or a like, a subscribe, maybe even a comment on YouTube. Please be sure to check out previous episodes or other videos on our YouTube as well, or go over to our social media pages, Magpie 24/7 or Magpie Ultras on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know the drill. And we would like to see you in one of our future episodes. Have a good one.